So inheritance is nothing but acquiring all attributes, or simply I can say variables and methods from one class to another class, from one class to another class. Very important. So what is inheritance? Acquiring all variables and methods from one class to another class. It is nothing but inheritance, right? So we will take two classes. We will take two classes. Let me define two classes. So one is class A. Class A contains A, B, C and M1 method. All right. Similarly, class B of A. If I say B of A, this particular class B is derived from class A. So whatever the variables and methods present in class A can be accessible from class B also when we create an object. You will not get to know anything. Let us wait for some time. I will make you clear. So in this particular class B, I have another methods like X, Y, Z, and M2 method is present in class B. If you can see, X is one variable, Y is one variable, Z is one variable, and M2 is another method in class B. But this particular class, when it denoted like B of A, this particular class is defined from class A, but the class B is having another variables and method. So in total, this class B will have 6 variables, A, B, C, and X, Y, Z, and 2 methods, M1 and M2, right? So since this particular class B is derived from class A, it is nothing but child class, or I can call this as derived class, child class or derived class, or I can also call this as subclass. Very important. So since this particular class B is derived from class A, it is nothing but child class or derived class or subclass. So simply when I say child, it should have parent, right? So I can consider that class A is nothing but parent class or base class, or I can also call as super class. Very important. What is inheritance? Acquiring all variables and methods from one class to another class is nothing but inheritance. So here, if you see, class A is one class, class B is another class. What I am doing, I am acquiring all variables and methods from class A to class B, and thereafter class B is also having under variables and methods. If you can see, by common sense, I can say whatever the variables and methods present in class A can be accessible from class B, but whatever the variables and methods present in class B cannot be accessible to class A. Whatever methods belong to class A will also belong to class B. Whatever the methods belong to class A will also belongs to class B, but not vice versa. Means, see, whatever the methods and variables belongs to class B will not be accessible to class A, right? It is very important point, right? So they will ask you in interviews, like what is the use of inheritance, like how we can implement inheritance, right? What are the objectives of inheritance, right? So if you can see objectives of inheritance. So what are the objectives? If I can see, the objectives of inheritance is nothing but code reusability and avoid duplication. So you will not understand this particular point. Let me take one example. So in the particular example, I am taking loan as an example. So there are different types of loans available, like personal loan, home loan, vehicle loan. So those loans I will consider, so that you will get to know the concept of inheritance. So in this, what I will say, class loan is a parent class, right? And similarly, personal as well as home as well as vehicle loan is an child class. Very important. So what I'm doing, I'm defining two classes. Class loan is one class, as well as personal home as well as vehicle loans are child classes. So let us see this so that you can understand better. So just try to see this part first, so that you can understand. So what I am doing, I am having 3 types of loans. Suppose you take, there are multiple types of loans, but right now for your understanding, what I am doing, I am trying to take 3 types of loans. One is personal loan, home loan, vehicle loan. So if you can see, for taking any loan, there are some formalities fixed, like taking the papers from you, logging into that particular website, right? Checking your credit score or civil score, right? These are common methods. All right. So what I'm doing, these three here in this particular example are individual methods. Like individual methods. Individual methods are having. Suppose you are say you say personal loan is having some 50 methods. Like one method is taking your documents. Another method is registering into that particular bank portal, and thereafter third method is like checking your civil score. This is another method. Likewise, there are some 50 methods. Similarly, for home loan also there are some 50 methods. But vehicle loan also some 50 methods. Total how many methods? 150 methods. So what is the development time here? Suppose if you can say one method is for 1 hour, 150 hours it is. But in common sense, I can say all these loans are having some common methods. All these loans are having some common methods. So with the help of inheritance, how I can reduce these total methods as well as development time as well. So if you can see, I will define one class like loan, which is having some common methods. So these common methods can be used to all these particular loans. Right, what I will do, I will define those common methods in one parent class. Like this is like loan, you can say. So in this particular loan, I am having 30 methods, which are common methods to all these personal loan, home loan, vehicle loan. So what I will do, I will use these common methods in type of loan. In personal loan, I will use. In home loan, I will use those methods only. In vehicle loan, I will use those methods only. If you can see, you have defined at one place the common methods. So you don't need to define those common methods again in personal loan. So this is duplication is avoided. And similarly, code reusability. You are using the same code, like same common methods in multiple areas, like personal loan, home loan, as well as vehicle loan. So in total, I have common methods 30 and individual methods 20, 20, 20. So total methods are 30. So development time is like 90 hours. So in this way, inheritance avoids code reusability as well as avoid duplication. So you can take this particular example, like taking multiple loans as a good example, so that you will get to know inheritance, how you can avoid duplication and code reusability, and use that the flavor of inheritance here, right? It is very important. What I am doing, I'm just defining the common methods in parent class, and with the help of parent class, I am just defining the child class, like parent loan, home loan, vehicle loan. That's it. So in order to use that notation, what I have to do, suppose this is A is the loan class and B is the personal loan. What I'm doing, personal loan of loan. Similarly, vehicle loan of loan. Similarly, a home loan of loan. I have to define in this way, like in order to make the difference between parent as well as child classes. Right? So we will see one example, so that you will get to know one idea. So let me create one folder, date and. So in this, I will create inheritance file, Python file, inheritance Python file. So let me create one example so that you can understand. So let me create some class A. So in that class, I am having one method defined. M1 is the method. So when I define a method inside a class, I have to use self. So what I am doing, I'm just printing one statement, print of. This is method from class A. This is method 1 from class A. Similarly, what I will do, I will try to use method 2. This is method 2 of or from class A, right? So this is nothing but class A. In this class A, I am having two methods, M1 as well as M2. And similarly, what I am doing, I am trying to define another class. Class B, right? B of A. So what I am doing, this particular class is extended from this particular class A. So that is the reason what I am doing. I am saying B of A. So if I say B of A, B is the child class, A is the parent class. So this B is derived from this A. So derived means there are some methods which are common for this class. So I have defined in class B, right? So what I will do, I will use M3. This is method 3 from class B. And thereafter, I will also define some variables. I will also define some variables, so that you will get to know what is the difference between them. So suppose A comma B is equal to 10 comma 20. So these are class variables of class A, and there are no variables in class B. Just for now, I have just defined like this. So this is a simple example which you can take as an example for inheritance. So since it is also a class, you need to create an object instance of a class, and thereafter you need to call the methods which are there in the particular class. Like, let me create one object 1. So when I say object 1, what I'm doing, I'm just creating class A instance. So with the help of this particular object, I can only able to access M1 method and M2 method. You are not able to access M3 method. So let us try to see that. Object 1 dot, if you just keep a dot here, it will highlight all the methods here. If you can see, A I can access, B I can access, M1 I can access, M2 I can access. These particular methods as well as variables I can access, but M3 is not accessible because this particular method belongs to class B. This particular method belongs to class B. But even though this particular class is derived from class A, when we create an instance object for class A, we are supposed to access only variables and methods from class A only, not from class B. I will make you show you the difference between the object or instance of class A and instance of class B. So for now, we just try to understand. So when I create an instance of class A, and when I just put a dot here, it will highlight all the methods and variables. So let me try to execute M1 as well as object 1 dot M2, right? So you can also access object 1 dot A. So this A is nothing but the class variable. I cannot access the class variable directly from here. So that is the reason introduce variable for the statement. Yeah, let me try to introduce, suppose x is equal to, right, print of x. Similarly, I'm just giving another variable object 1 dot B. You will have more confusion here, don't worry. So right now what I'm doing, I'm just creating the instance of a class, just for you, making you to understand how a class instance is created. And I'm not going about the inheritance. I'm not discussing about the inheritance. Wait for a some time. So what I'm doing, with the help of class A object, I'm just calling the methods in the class A as well as variables in the class A. So print of y. So let me execute this. So if I can execute, this object belongs to class A. It has only printed the methods and variables in class A only. So right now the real inheritance concept comes into picture. So what I am doing, I'm just creating object 2 is equal to instance of B, instance of class B. So with the help of this object, which is the instance of class B, this particular class B is derived from class A. So I'm able to access the methods as well as variables from class A as well as class B. This is nothing but inheritance. You are acquiring all variables and methods from class A to class B. This is nothing but an inheritance. So if you can see here, when I use that object 2 dot, it will highlight M1 method, M2 method, which are the methods of class A and B, which are the class variables of class A, and M3, which is the method of class B, which is a child class, right? So let me try to use that. M1, similarly, M2, similarly, M3, right? M2 as well as M3, right? So when I use M1, this M1 belongs to class A, this M3 belongs to class B, which is nothing but a child class or a derived class or a subclass. So M2 belongs to class A, parent class. Similarly, I need to access that variables, right? So similarly, I can use x is equal to object 2 dot A as well as y is equal to object 2 dot B. Similarly, I need to print them, print of x comma y, just letting us know. So if you can see here, this is method 1 from class A, this is method 2 from class A, this is method 3 from class A. These are class variables of class A. So if you can see here, this is one class and this is another class. This is parent class, this is child class, because this particular class, class B, is derived from class A. So when I create an object of a child class, since B is a child class, I'm able to access all the methods and variables in parent class as well as child class. This is nothing but an example for inheritance. This is an example for inheritance. So in short, what is an inheritance? Acquiring all methods and variables from class A to class B or one class to another class is nothing but inheritance. So we have two types of classes in inheritance, like child class as well as superclass or parent class or derived class, subclass, base class, like this. So whatever the methods belongs to class A will also belongs to class B, but not vice versa. As we have seen here, if you have just created only object for class A, you are not able to access the methods in class B. as well as variables also, right? This is very important, very important, very important to know about inheritance. And similarly, types of inheritance, types of inheritance, types of inheritance. Very important, very, very important. Should not forget this. Types of inheritance. So what are the types of inheritance? We have total 6 types of inheritances, but last 2 types of inheritances we are not using infrequent. Those are nothing but combinations of these 4 types of inheritances only. So that is the reason why I am majorly discussing single, multi-level, hierarchical, multiple. Right? So single inheritance, single inheritance. So when I say single inheritance, single inheritance. So when I say single inheritance, a single inheritance is nothing but concept of acquiring the properties, nothing but variables and methods from one class to another class is nothing but a single inheritance. Nothing but concept of acquiring properties. When I say properties, you can think of like variables and methods from one class to another class. From one class to another class is nothing but is called as single inheritance. Single inheritance. Right? Concept of acquiring properties from one class to another class is nothing but single inheritance. So this is the example for single inheritance. This is the example for single inheritance. Up to now you have seen single inheritance. Very important. Up to now you have seen single inheritance. Right? And another type of example, multi-level inheritance. Multi-level inheritance. What does this multi-level inheritance tells? The concept of inheriting the properties from multiple classes to a single class with the concept of one after the other is known as multi-level inheritance. So you will not understand this. Let me make it clear in this way. So you have last class like C4. So whatever the methods belongs to C1, C2, C3, those particular methods belongs to C4. In the concept of chaining, so first you will chain C2 from C1, C3 from C2, similarly C4 from C3. This is nothing but multi-level inheritance. Let me make you clear with the definition so that we can go for some example. Multi-level inheritance. Multi-level inheritance. So what is multi-level inheritance? Concept of inheriting variables and methods from multiple classes to single class with the concept of chaining, very important, with the concept of chaining, or I can say that chaining is also called as concept of one after another. It is nothing but chaining. So is known as multi-level inheritance. It is known as multi-level inheritance. What you are doing, you are just inheriting variables and methods from multiple classes to single class with the concept of one after the another. You will not understand this point. Let me make you clear with an example. So let me create one Python file, multi-level inheritance. So let me define class A. So this class will be having small letter, right? Similarly, let me define some variables. A is equal to 10. Similarly, B is equal to 20, right? So let me define one method. Define M1, right? It is print of this is method 1. This is method 1 from class A, right? Similarly, what I will do, I will try to use another classes like some 2 to 3 classes, with different names. Suppose this is class B of A. Similarly, this is class C of B, right? This is method 2 from class B. Similarly, this is method 3 from class C. So if you can see here, this is C, this is D, this is A, B, C, D, E, this is suppose F. So if you can see here, what I have done, I have created 3 classes. In these 3 classes, A is the parent class, right? Or base class or super class. So if you can see here, B is the child class because B is derived from class A. So, and if you can see here, this particular C is derived from class B. So this is nothing but also a child class, right? If you can see here, for C, B is the parent class. B is the parent class. For B, A is the parent class, and this is the last class. And whatever the methods and variables present in multiple classes will be very important. Will be accessible by class B. Simply, I can say inheriting properties from multiple classes to one single class. It is nothing but multi-level inheritance. Multi-level inheritance. What I am doing, I'm just defining multiple classes as a parent as well as a child. And similarly, what I'm doing, I'm just creating one class. So whatever the methods and variables present in another classes will be available to the last class or a single class in multi-level inheritance. So this is the example for multi-level inheritance. So what I will do, if I create an object for class C, then I'm able to access the variables and methods from class B as well as class C. Let us try to see. Object 3 is equal to what I'm doing. I'm just creating instance of class C, right? So with the help of this, I'm able to access all the methods and variables, right? So object 3 dot, when I put a dot here, it will highlight all the variables and methods. If you can see, M1, M2, M3 are methods of class A, class B as well as class C. Similarly, A, B, C, D, E, F. Right? This is nothing but what I can say, like it is very important. These are the variables of multiple classes. So what I have done right now, I'm just created an instance of class C. With the help of that class C object, I'm able to access all the variables and methods. Let us try to execute that M1, similarly M2, similarly M3. M2, this is method 2 from class B, right? Similarly, what I will do, I will try to use some x comma y comma z. X is equal to object 3 dot A, right? I'm able to access this type of variables: B, C, D, E, F, X, Y, Z, XX, YY, Z. I'm just defining some random names to variables. That's it. So print of x comma y comma z as well as xx comma yy comma z. Right. So what I'm doing, I'm just created one instance of class C with the help of class C, which is derived from class B, which is derived from class A. I'm able to access all the methods and variables of those classes as well as variables and methods of that particular class. Right. Let me try to execute this. So if you can see here, it has executed the same. So this is method from class A, class B, as well as class C, as well as all the things or all the variables in multiple classes.